if you could sum up your philosophy as a brand, what would it be?
Oh, well, here you are in a nutshell, and this is scary now, Abbey.
Elemis,
the British skincare brand.
unlocking the secrets of skin longevity.
We believe your skin reflects the choices you made yesterday. You have the future of your skin in your own hands. We're in 110 countries. And one thing that I think is greatly missed about Elemis is that you will look that 8-9 years younger.
What would you say the number one culprit is for aging skin?
I would say it's alcohol, smoking. They're the two big problems.
So scary.
The makeup industry, it's a £4.8 trillion industry, producing 120 billion units of packaging every year. And there are so many liquid plastics in makeup that go in the food that you're eating. We're one credit card of plastic a month that you're consuming.
That
It's
is
unbelievable.
terrifying.
So,
Hi, I'm Abbey Clancy and welcome to Exhibit A. Today's guests have been revolutionizing the skincare world for over 3 decades. So of course I know who you are, but can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves?
Well, I'm Noella Gabriel, and I am a co-founder and global president of Elemis. I'm Irish, as you can gather. I still have my accent, and I'm over 40 years in the UK, so I'm holding on to that for dear life. I've been travel with Elemis since the day of launch. I wear many hats still today in the brand, and I honestly still think we're living our best life, even though it's 35 years down the line. Mm-hmm. And we're working in the most exciting industry in the world. So, for me, it's happy days.
I'm Oriele Frank. I'm one of the co-founders. There is a gentleman called Sean Harrington, who's the trio. I've been with the brand since the beginning with Noella. And as a co-founder, you really see a startup growing right through to a global brand in 110 countries.
Wow.
And I've always loved the sort of brand piece and the product development. But my latest role, as Noella said, you change, and as the brand gets bigger and bigger, you have to evolve. I'm now the Chief Product and Sustainability Officer, and looking at how this brand of 30 odd years can really come out as an even better brand for the future of our generations and the future for our planet. So it's been a really amazing journey to evolve your role in so many different ways.
And in them 30 years, there must have been so much change.
Yeah, I mean, Abbey, yes, a lot has changed, and actually, fundamentally, the DNA of the brand hasn't changed at all. And I think that's actually that's the key to the success. I can remember being in the room from the very day one, and the brief was, let's design a product as close to nature as possible.
Yeah.
And that was the passion, and that's what we all three of us wanted. Mm-hmm. And we were young and we were naive a little bit, but my God, we didn't lack in passion, and also we didn't lack in there will be no compromise. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that's really stood true to the brand right up to today.
Yeah.
We don't believe in bringing out a gimmick. Mm-hmm. And actually, we don't believe in copying anything. There's actually nothing in that for our Elemis global community. What we do love to do is to bring out innovation that pushes the boundaries. But that was the exact same brief as 30 years ago. Yeah. Yes, the world has changed. Yes, ingredients have changed. But fundamentally, the ethos and the concept of the brand hasn't changed. And I think that's probably the heartbeat and still the heartbeat of the brand today.
So what, if you could sum up your philosophy as a brand, what would it be?
Oh, well, here you are in a nutshell, and this is scary now, Abbey. We believe your skin reflects the choices you made yesterday. Now think about that. We believe that if you make changes today, you can change your skin tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So actually what I'm actually saying to you, Abbey, is that you have the future of your skin in your own hands. Mm-hmm. And we will then work with you with a great product brand and a range to help you support your lifestyle choices. Yeah. And that's it in a nutshell.
So do you think skincare should be tailored to each individual?
Oh God, yes. I think, it isn't one size fits all. We all choose different choices. You might, I had 2 glasses of red wine last night. Someone else might have had 4 cigarettes. Yeah. Someone else might be on medication. Mm-hmm. Someone else might be just after a big operation. Why would I get the same as you? Or more in like, I'm twice someone's age. Why would I have the same as someone in their early 20s? Yeah. So no, you have to sit down and tell your story. And it can be short, it can be sweet, but I do think you need to sit with someone and say, you know, this is what I'm using, this is my lifestyle, this is my diet, these are my choices.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying you need to change those, but I think if we listen, and Elemis was always a brand that we said we're a brand that wants to spend a little longer with you.
Yeah.
That's always been. Just sit and give us a little few more minutes so I can really talk to Abbey and see what's really going on in her skincare routine.
Yeah.
And then I can prescribe what you should use for the next 21, 30 days, and then come back and sit again and listen again. And more important, let's see what you're having in treatments. Because fundamentally, Elemis is a treatment-led product brand.
Yeah. Well, that's where I first became familiar with Elemis from, you know, hotel spas. And then they would do the most incredible facials and the smell. And then you would always buy the product afterwards. But now, you know, as you say, it's in 110 countries. You sell the Pro Collagen Marine Cream every 13 seconds. You were brought into the brand 30 years ago to reinvent, restructure. What did you bring to the table?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, you come into a brand and, you know, to me, it's about simplicity.
Yeah.
It's about a simple message, not making it too complicated. You know, we were looking at the branding, the logo, how do you make it stand out, be a bit unique, a bit different. So you look at it from all aspects, but ultimately you want to drive awareness. You want people to remember you. And that's, you look at that from two sides. You look at what does the brand stand for? What is the messaging behind that brand? What is the imagery behind that brand? And then ultimately, you were just saying about the formulations. If the products are not effective, or people don't enjoy using them, they won't go back. So it's about building loyalty and spending that time. I think Elemis being therapist-driven, those therapists are qualified therapists. They'll have trained for many, many years. They will understand that skin is a living organism, the largest organism of the body, and that actually it does change. So I think, you know, looking at the brand, it's been always about the formulation, never compromising. When we moved from being very essential oil-based and body care-based and we moved into skincare, that was a massive change for us.
Yeah.
The marine cream was that real turning point for the brand. We actually had that product in one of our treatments.
Okay.
And we saw such amazing results in our facials. We thought, actually, why haven't we brought this out in retail? But then we were like, we need to clinically test this. And in the early days, we didn't have that money. We didn't have that budget.
So how did you go about doing all the testing without?
So you have to do it in independent clinical trials.
Okay.
So you have to pay a specialist company and they do it separately to you. You send all the formulas there. They test them. There's different tests. So there's about 10 different tests. You can do elasticity. You can do the coloration of the skin. You can look at wrinkles. You can take, laser profilometry of that. You can see if it's plumping up.
Wow.
You know, but we always said it wasn't about miracles. We don't believe you can change things permanently. It's about when you're using that product, it has an effect for a period of time that you're using it and makes your skin look great and plumped and fresh. So yeah, we did our first clinical trial on the marine cream. And actually, we tell everyone, we did not get positive results on that first clinical trial.
Oh, really?
And we sat around that table, I remember with Noella, and we said, oh my gosh, we're about to launch this product. And the dossier came back saying no statistics significance. And we were like, oh gosh, what are we going to do?
And how long had you been working on this product?
18 months.
18 months.
And we were ready to launch.
Wow.
And we said no. And I always think that real no compromise. This product is not good enough. Back into the labs, back in with the chemists, back saying this isn't good enough for Elemis. We have to have a product that is efficacious. Another 12 months. We boosted lots of actives, had to pay for the whole clinical trial again, and we got phenomenal results. But I do think that authenticity, that trust has now come out in the brand. People know when they're buying an Elemis product, it's really going to do the job.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's all about, then you have to obviously sell that. You have to sell that imagery and that dream. And I think it's doing it as authentically as you can. And I also genuinely believe our best advocates are the consumers, people telling their stories, saying how it's changed their skin. So we really try and listen to what they have to say.
Because there's so much now on the market, it's hard to know who to trust, isn't it? But you've been at the top of your game for over 30 years. You've obviously got a very loyal customer who keeps coming back for more. How do you think you maintain that?
I think, one, we're very close to them. I think you need to know who your consumer is, and and I know everyone makes that statement, but really know. And I think the pandemic, if anything happened through the pandemic, it allowed us to get very close to our consumer out there. So we kind of wrapped our arms around them, and we listened to them, and we communicated to them through TikTok, through YouTube, through Instagram, all the areas that were very new to us, Abby. I mean, we weren't there before. But those 2.5 to 3 years helped us build up our global diverse community, and we had great fun in doing that. We really, really had. And then we kind of pivoted and we thought, okay, let's use this community to help us steer our innovation. And now, to our conversation earlier, we have a very young 14, 15, 16-year-old buying into collagen cleansing balm.
Yeah, because that went viral on TikTok. Did you say 80 million?
Exactly. And I mean, I'm in my 60s, and I have no problem saying that today, but I have a 25-year-old daughter, and we both use cleansing balm. Now, we use different flavors. She loves fig, and I love the classic, the one with the 9 essential oils, which is my die-hard loyal.
Spar in a bottle.
Yeah. Well, there's a product that can kind of stretch the generations, and I think it's a brand that's very unique to us, and that ability. And I think if, we listen. We know who our consumer is, and we know we have a global consumer. So we can't now just be designing products for a British skin. We have to design products for a global diverse skin. Now, the British consumer will really benefit from that as well, because they'll get diversity and they'll get ingredients that they may never have had before. So I think it's a great strength and asset for the brand that we have this breadth now that we can kind of channel back into the brand. And if dare I say it, we're just going to launch a Future Restore serum. And this we've clinically trialed, and in 4 days you can see 46% increase in firmness. 4 days. I mean, so if anything...
What's the science behind that? Why does it do that?
Because we build a formulation, and this is a bit technical now, but we just don't take an ingredient, and everyone might say, well, why don't you use that seaweed? Because actually that's not interesting anymore. It's really about the full formulation. So every product development, Oriele will vouch for this, we start with a blank sheet of paper. And we say, right, okay, what is our Elemis consumer? So what is this product going to bring to her system? What is she missing? What's new out there that we need to look at? So we just don't take an ingredient because everyone else is using it. We actually build the formulation. I mean, sometimes there's 15 to 18 different ingredients in there. It's like building a recipe for a cake. It's not the one ingredient in there that works. It's the sum of all the parts. And that, I think, is a massive point of difference for the brand, is that we're very serious about the end product, and it has to be different. And to Oriel's point, it has to work. And if it doesn't work, and you must remember when we made that decision on Pro Collagen, we were a small brand then. We weren't the size we were today. And for us to go back and say, guys, we can't launch this. And for them to listen to us and take that serious. And I mean, that was, great respect for us, but it also was very bold of us to say, no.
It's a brave move, isn't it?
Because they had all the money and the whole campaign was ready to just press the button. And we stopped and we went back. And I don't know many brands that do that today.
Would you say that was a big turning point for you?
I really do think it was a massive turning point for us. And we saw that product, it's an icon now. It's won so many awards. Then we've brought the SPF version out. We listened to feedback. Some people found it quite light. It was a light gel texture. So we did a slightly heavier version, an extra rich version. But we're always listening. Then people said, they would like to see if we could maybe a rose version for more sensitive skins. And actually, we're already working on the next generation. So we have like a new formula that will be the sort of the modern version to come out. So you're constantly looking at it. And ingredients are changing and evolving. In the Future Restore serum, we decided to find our own unique algae. And they collected the water samples. Then they used technology. We went to Spain and they collected the algae. They isolated the algae. We have a unique algae that we've discovered. And then they can recreate that in the lab.
Wow.
So that's taken 2.5 years from literally the boatman taking us out, right through to the biochemistry being done there. And now it's obviously in the product which we've just launched. So for us, it's about being unique and trying to do things differently. Even that cleansing balm, it's still so unique. Everyone has tried to copy it, but no one has actually
Nailed it.
perfected that incredible base. And there's some amazing stories in that product. You know, probably 50 miles from here in Essex, near Colchester, we have our 4th generation of farmers growing fields and fields of the borage. And there, that seed is then pressed and that oil goes into that product. So, you know, we have local stories where we're supporting communities. And I think people forget that I take the team and I say, you get your feet in the soil.
Yeah.
And they're like, this product started
Comes from
here.
here.
And, you know, we have so many amazing raw materials and ingredients that come from nature.
What would you say for the younger generation?
Oh, Abby, you're opening a can of worms here. Now we're as you know, we have a responsibility in this space, and we take it very, very seriously. I mean, we've always pioneered that you don't put the skin into early retirement, and I feel very, very passionate about a 13, 14-year-old starting to use retinol. I mean, I just think it's a no. Yeah. One, the skin hasn't settled, the microbiome hasn't settled, it's constantly changing. You're actually putting another challenge on top of that with retinol. You know, where are these skins going to go when they turn 20, 21, 22? What's going to be left in the box of tricks for them to help with all the challenges they're going to have and all the skin problems? I vouch. If you're going to strip your microbiome like that at an early age, you're going to have no lipids whatsoever left when you get into 20. And to me, that's just feeding into a big problem. Yeah. I think a clean skin is a must because we have to face that a 13, 14-year-old they're now wearing a lot of makeup.
Yes.
Much more than they even were 5-6 years ago. So that in itself means that you have to clean. You have to get that skin really squeaky clean in the evening. Don't strip it. It doesn't mean washing it 5-6 times and stripping every little bit of oil out of it. But, you know, that's what makes cleansing balm such a really a firm favorite. Yeah. Because it goes on as a balm, and when you work it, it goes into an oil, and the oil will take away all those like 5-6 layers of makeup, eye makeup as well.
Well, I use that when I do shoots because we're on TV and heavy makeup.
Yeah, and it doesn't strip, you see.
No.
So then your cheeks don't get really sore. You know, when you're washing skin all the time and trying to get makeup off. And I think that's a firm favorite. And to be honest, I think that's about as much. I would say clean and protect. Yeah. Cleanse and put on a simple little moisturizer. Yeah. Very simple. Forget your hyaluronic acids, forget your retinols, and just be really grateful that you don't need them until you get into your 20s, okay? Yeah. And that's our stance in it. And not just a stance in it, we really educate in that space as well. You know, I would say, no, you don't need it. We have a conscience. We like to be able to put our heads on our pillows at night and have a good night's sleep without thinking, you know, does that little girl have to spend 80, 90, 150 pounds on a product? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the kids buying all this. I don't know where they get the money from.
And you're seeing brands come out that are designed more for teen skins. And there are some good brands really trying to tell the right story. I think it's the brands where they're super expensive with really, really active ingredients that should not be marketing to that age group. No. And it's not fair on their parents that they're demanding. I mean, where do they get that money? That money should be spent on good nutrition, good levels of fitness, you know, get really looking after yourself. And we've always said that Elemis is a way of living. So it isn't just about skincare. We know that everything you put in your body, the way you sleep, is also so much part. You know, Noella devised a series of 6 questions, and you always said those 6 questions you could really, as lifestyle questions about, you know, are you smoking, your sleep, you can really then see as a whole how that person's body is performing. And then the skincare is just the icing on the cake. You know, you must keep that hydration, but cleansing it and hydrating it. So many cleansers strip. Yeah. I mean, I see I've got boys, so I don't have all the girls that things, but the boys stripping their skin, spots. It's all about this, how do I get rid of my spots? And, you know, the more you try and remove that layer of good quality microbiome, it's not good for your skin.
What is a microbiome?
That is the ecosystem of your skin. So the pH, your skin is very complex, Abby, and everybody likes to talk about one piece of it. We don't talk about that. I mean, we live through pH, the pH of products, pH of skin. But your skin is a very complex ecosystem. It has salt, it has oil, it has good bacteria, bad bacteria, it's got sebum, it's got water, it's got salt, and I could go on, right? Yeah. But most product brands only talk about one ingredient. Well, it's like taking one ingredient out of the the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
And the ecosystem, we refer to it, or we like to call it microflora, because that's a word, Elemis, the flora of the skin and the fauna. And the microbiome is the industry turn of phrase.
Okay.
And it's really the sum of every piece that your skin is made up of. But if you keep stripping that, and keep washing it and stripping it, then, it gets no time to settle and kind of readjust. And aging is altering it anyway, because that's what aging is. Aging skin is a thinning skin. And a thinning skin has less oil. So your microbiome is adjusting anyway as you get older. So why are we pushing that forward?
Yeah.
It's like we're almost accelerating ourselves into the middle 20s when, hang on a minute, just enjoy that you have beautiful, uncomplicated skin.
Yeah.
And then we start playing with it, and then it gets problematic.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the bit that I think, as skincare experts, and we live in it, we have a responsibility, I think, to drop a little seed of awareness to say, you're on enough.
What would you say the number one culprit is for aging skin or for skin damage in your skin?
I would say it's lifestyle, and it's in your own hands. Yeah. And I know now I have vices in life too, Abbey. I don't live the perfect life by a long shot, okay? But, smoking, please, I ask you, just think about it, because you are breathing in nicotine, your blood interchanges in the lungs, and that oxygen and nicotine is going and fed to your skin all day, every day, because that's how the skin cleanses at an internal level. The other one, alcohol, well, we all like the odd glass of wine, so do I. But, I actually think smoking and stress, they're the two key, they impact daily on your skin. And if you could just think about that and find some little way of and you know what I'm saying, Abbey, I don't mean like transformation. I'm not going to smoke tomorrow.
Yeah.
I won't have that one cigarette now, I'll have it later. Just break the pattern for one day, because the skin changes, renews on a 21-day cycle. So if you can break the cycle by small little changes, honestly, the reward is huge. It's absolutely huge, because it's alive. Your skin is alive, and that should be celebrated. It's exciting. So tiny changes, small little changes, and remove and just break the cycle and watch how your skin will respond.
I love the sun, but I am very conscious as I've got older to have a hat on. Enjoy the sun, but don't put it straight on your face.
I suffer terribly from pigmentation.
Yes.
Like even through pregnancy, it was so bad. In the sun, and obviously it gets worse as you get older, because I'm very fair-skinned, freckly.
Yeah. So always, SPF is still a chemical. So, for me, it's about, if you're going to be exposed to the sun, then make sure you've got that SPF on.
Yeah.
Or be in the shade, wear a hat where you can. But I think, aging skin is we're all going to get old. And it's trying to embrace that and keep that skin as healthy as possible.
It's never too late. I get asked every day all over the world, it's never too late. Because you could still stand up 10 women and I could still pick out the woman who takes care of her skin.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. It does take that 5 to 8 years off. You will look that 8, 9 years younger, in the shadow of a doubt, because it's going to have that cared for look. So, today is a day to start, maybe.
So for people who can't afford them, if they could invest in one product from your range, what would you?
I mean, I think 2 maybe, a cleanser and a moisturizer. And, the wonderful thing about Elemis is a little goes a long way. That's what we always hear. Then everything else is an added bonus. The essence, I've just loved using our essence. It really holds the moisture in the skin, but I take it right down into the décolleté, because I'm noticing, as I'm turning the big 60 next year,
Wow.
that I see it here and I see it, and I'm like, oh gosh. So I think, it's all about a little bit, but often, and just trying to care for your skin as much as you can.
Elemis, when you think Elemis, you think luxury. What does luxury mean to you? How would you define luxury?
I think it's one thing that we refer to in Elemis is a texture library. And I think the luxury of the product, we spoke about it so much here before we even started this interview this morning, Abbey, and you referred to the smell. taking the lid off, just taking that moment to just breathe and think, oh gosh,
The whole
that cleansing
room
balm.
fills with, those essential
That
oils.
to me is what luxury is in a product. I chose it because I love the aromatic and the texture. Yeah. And as Oriele said, a little goes a long way. So to me, it's about luxury. I talk all the time about a texture library. We pride ourselves that no two products have the same texture. And you could layer 4 products and feel still you've only got 2 on,
That's so true.
And that's the science of great texture. So for me, luxury is in the end product, the experience, and my goodness, the results. But primarily, when you apply something, you're going, God, I love that, And that's very unusual.
Yeah.
I think that's very rare. And that also, we can finish a product and we can still then think, oh my God, what's the aromatic going to be? And that would take another 6 to 8 months before we decide. So they're labor of love. They're absolutely a labor of love with no compromise. So it would be luxury and texture. And, we're very generous as a brand. So if you're listening out there and think, Pro Collagen is expensive, we do a load of gift with purchases everywhere. Yeah. So start with a little kit and start small. And then out of that, you'll fall in love with 2 products that really suit your skin. Yeah. And then you build from there.
There's so many new products on the market every day. How do you manage to stand out still after 30 years? And do you feel any pressure to keep evolving?
I mean, I think it's got fiercely competitive. It's just so many brands coming out daily.
Yeah.
There's another product. I think what we've decided very much, I mean, this is after 30 odd years, we're looking at how we can be more efficient. We have so many products, so we're going to rationalize that and have less that are better.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bold move.
It is.
But we also believe that instead of bringing out 20 products and just another one for another story, for another bit of, TikTok, we're going to bring out a few products a year that are really absolutely incredible. And if they're not good enough, we don't launch them.
Yeah.
So fewer, bigger, better has been our mantra for about 5 years now. Not to bring out lots and lots of products. We are in a new world where people don't want more. They're beginning, even the next generation are beginning to look at clothes and, vintage and, swapping things and realizing that
the beauty industry is the worst for that, isn't it?
I mean, it's
so much waste and...
It's a £4.8 trillion industry.
Wow.
Producing 120 billion units of packaging every year.
Wow.
It's just evolved so much. So I think as a brand, we stay very true to our DNA.
Yeah.
We will only bring out product where we know we've got a gap in the market, that people are saying, we haven't really got a really beautiful serum from Elemis that we feel is effective. We went into the kitchen, as they say, and we sat and we worked on it for 3 years to make sure that we really bring something out that's very special. Yeah. And it's got to be a success. We don't want to discontinue that product 2 years later. The wonderful thing is when you see sort of marine cream and cleansing balms just celebrated 10 years.
Wow.
And that product, when we went to America, they said, that won't work in America. It's too fragrance. The Americans don't like fragrance skincare, which we've been learning about all these different nuances for different countries, but we've cracked it. And now they love it, and they feel that you can really tell that they've fallen in love with that cleansing balm, having been told that no one would ever put on that type of aromatic on their skin.
It feels like you're doing something good for your skin when you put that on.
And we ask ourselves all day, every day, what responsibility have we in skin? I say, what as a product developer do we have as a responsibility for wellness? And I think aromatics. And my history is I'm an aromatherapist, so beautiful aromatics is something that's a real passion of mine, and how the skin responds to them and how we respond to them. And I think that is a key strength. And the big demand today too, Abbey, is that, people want to put on a product and they want to see the results tomorrow. They're not willing to wait 30 days.
I think they want to see it instantly.
Instantly. I'll put it on tonight, I wake up and will I see it tomorrow? And they pick the mirror up. So that pressure is on a formulation all day, every day. And the other part of that is you have to stay relevant.
Yeah.
They have to watch something and think, oh, that could be me. And if you stay at that nice I use the word simple, it's not simple, it's very hard. Yeah. But if you can keep really lasered into that every product we launch, that when Abbey reads it, she thinks, oh God, I want that. Yeah. That's the secret sauce. And if you can just keep it tight and smell beautiful and stay true to the DNA of the brand, I think we have another, because honestly, we're only starting. We're 35 years in, but for us, we feel we're only starting the journey because the best is yet to come.
That's incredible. Do you feel any pressures with how skincare has advanced in other ways, like lasers and injectables and...
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to the makeup artist today and she said it's completely normalized to have fillers, Botox. Yeah. That's just normal and very young. I mean, you go
young
now
girls.
To young girls starting. We do really, bang the drum about your skin being an organ and the pH and really treating that skin very well. And, I, personally, if people want to do those things, that's fine. I think when it starts to become an obsession and they want more and more and more, then it becomes a concern. And I think the media isn't helping that. So for us, we've not ventured into that. We've talked about it many times. Should we do have incredible technology in our facial machine. Yeah. We use electrics, currents to stimulate the skin, to give it a little bit of an energy. But in terms of actually changing permanently the skin or putting things into the skin that are actually, Botox is a poison. Yeah. So, that what is that internalizing into the body? What is that doing to the body? They really don't have all the long term. They don't know what that skin's going to be like in 30 years, having done that to the skin. So I think it's about, aging as naturally as possible. If people do want to have treatments, that's absolutely, we don't sit there and say, no, don't do that. And if it makes them feel better, and I think the tweakments where you might have a few little bits here and there, that's fine. But we're seeing a whole generation that is taking it far beyond that. And I think that's something we're going to have to see what the effects are on the skin when people use that. What are the long-term effects of that, starting at such a young age?
It's quite contradictory because, there's a whole generation of people who are the young ones who are like, we want everything to be ethically sourced, good for the environment, good for the planet. And then that whole, 18-year-olds getting Botox and fillers and, it's such a scary, especially as a mom, it's such a scary...
It is. And everything instant and immediate. And now, I suppose, as a brand, we chose to educate. So for us, we would like to sit that girl down and really talk to her and try and let her leave thinking, oh gosh, maybe, we're not out to change the world. But I think that we have to have ethics in it, Yeah. And the skin... There's one fact that we can't deny, and your skin is getting thinner every day. Every day. That's aging.
That's a scary thought.
Aging. And if you're putting stuff on at the outside, that's burning off, glycolics and all of that, all day, every day. Well, think about it. There's very little coming up new, and you're taking off more from the top layer. What happens eventually? And to be honest, Abbey, I've seen the results of that. I've seen paper fine skin where you can almost translucent, that you can almost see the circulation flowing underneath from people overuse of extremes. It becomes incredibly addictive. And that's the problem. And then reversing that is very, very difficult. Now, however, we do retinol, but we do retinol in an Elemis way. We look at an alternative to retinol. We did a lactobionic acid. We took an alpha extract that we really pushed the boundaries in that space to compete with the glycolics, because we made a choice 10 years ago, 15, we would not do
an
glycolic.
An ethical
choice. Yeah. And a skin choice, for your better skin in 5 years' time. So I think we're not afraid of it. I think we do a lot of pre and post in the Medi-Spa space. We're on the cruise ships, as you know, we're the product of choice on 190 of the most beautiful cruises out there. I'm talking top end 5-star plus. And we'll do pre and post treatments. We'll prep the skin before it goes in for a medi treatment, and we'll post it afterwards and make sure that it's all restored back. And we kind of meet in the middle there. But it's a choice as a brand not to go right in there, I think. And I think that has served us really well. Because actually people come the full circle around back again, Abbey, you know?
Yes.
So you just have to wait for that.
Where we were before was Sean was the salesman, you know, Golf GTI, a white one, driving around the country to all these beautiful spas, all these amazing salon owners, you know, selling Elemis. And, you know, just loved to tell the story. And then Noella, you were the educator and the trainer, and she was a therapist. So everything was her hands. She would train every single therapist. We still go around the world, and someone will come up at the airport and say, "You trained me in Grosvenor Street."
How amazing.
In Grosvenor Street. And those two were like the wild children. They were the Wild West. They go out there, and I was behind the scenes for a long time trying to keep it all together.
Yeah.
You know, and keep the brand consistent and, you know, redevelop it and keep up. And there was always change. And we need this, we need that. Let's have a spa. I'm going to buy you a spa bus. You know, one day Sean said, "I've bought you a bus." I said, "What?" He said, "Go up to Kent. It's in a bus stop. Yeah, you can go and have a look." And I went up, and it was a 17-year-old rust bucket of a double-decker bus. And he said, "I want it to be a spa." So I ripped out it. We had it all beautiful. And that bus went around the country for 5 years. And it was called the Elemis Spa Bus. It went to the Polo. It went to Glastonbury. It went all around, doing treatments all around the country. So he has that.
I want to go on that bus.
Yeah. we need to. So Sean's the maverick. He'll come up with ideas. He'll find amazing locations. The House of Elemis, he said, "Come on, we're going to do it." We've just launched in Monmouth Street. He said, "I want to see our first proper boutique." So he has the sort of the will and the vision to sort of really go out there across the world.
Yeah.
And he's now living in Australia and Asia, traveling the world, really expanding this brand.
Wow.
And we've all evolved. And really, our legacy will be to bring the next generation, which is where we are now. So we're in a real change of we are no longer the doers doing everything. We were doing everything, even only in COVID. Noella went to America to run America. I was running the UK. Sean was running Asia. But now it's about, actually, we need GMs, general managers.
Do you have a big team?
So there's 800 in the world, around the world. But we now have general managers running the countries, which we were doing before. So there's a general manager, Suzanne in the US, Susan in the UK, Antonio running Europe and Middle East, Carmen in Asia, and Jing in China. Those women predominantly, and Antonio, are running now those divisions, and we've had to say...
Is it hard to hand over the reins a little bit because having done everything for so long?
I don't, you know, Abbey. I just think we're all about mentoring. And it changes how you work, actually. And I've learned a lot over the last 18 months. I thought, you know, you think you know it all, and then suddenly a whole new learning curve. You have to become, you have to become a great listener.
Yeah.
And up to now, we did a lot of the talking. And I think what it's really taught me is to really listen and then find my moments to inject in the bit of wisdom. Yeah. Because obviously we might have been there before and there was a reason why we didn't go. So it's finding your moment to mentor, because we're in 110 countries. Our ambition is to be the global #1 British skincare brand. We want to be that $1 billion brand. We're well on track for that. And there is no way in hell we're going to do this on our own. Okay. Yeah. So, it needs the C-suite to be driving it with the steer.
How do you mentor your team to have that same mindset as you?
I think you have to respect that they're bringing a lot to the table. I think that's really important. And I always remember about 10 years ago when everyone was going into digital, and it was new to me, the digital world. And we brought in this really whiz kid into the digital team. And I brought her in one day and I said, "Would you give me an hour a day?" And she looked at me, Noella, I said, "Would you sit 1 hour a day with me?" And I got out my little notebook, Abbey, and I was writing down, CAC and acquisition and conversion and all the words, that you kind of you think, oh my God, and that was a real pivoting moment. It was me learning from her. And I think that was a massive turning point in my thinking up here, because I thought, hang on a minute, there's some great talent in this younger generation coming
It's
up.
a different kind of talent.
It's a different,
Like my
it's
5-year-old's
raw.
better on the computer than me.
Yeah. Yeah, and
ridiculous.
it's raw, and they're very creative.
Yeah, very.
And they have an amazing can-do attitude. They believe in their dreams. Whereas I come from a culture, as you know, the Irish, don't lose the run of yourself, Keep your feet firmly on the ground. It's like chalk and cheese. And I actually find that a bit of a breath of fresh air, really. Yeah. So I'm actually quite enjoying we're still living our dream. We're still looking at a brand that we started, and we still adore it, and we still have a big role to play, but it's not rolling the sleeves up and doing it.
But for people looking in, we must, for me, for example, I think, God, you are there, you've done it. Like, what more do you want to do?
Well, I mean, my ambition is that, 30 odd years, we've had 4 different owners.
Yeah.
Our last owner was very focused on having a female at the board level, to champion change and making it more sustainable.
Yes.
And I had always loved the charity work and giving back and looking at it. And I genuinely believe, as well as to, they basically said, we'd love you to go on the BCorp journey, we'd love you to get certification.
So what is that for people who don't know what the BCorp is?
So BCorp is that no longer you actually legally change your articles of association to say that you will no longer just be about profit.
Okay.
You will put profit alongside your people and the planet. So it's a very different mindset.
Oh, wow.
You will also look at things like, would you give back some of your profit? So we are aiming to give back 1% of our profit by 2030. Mm-hmm. And that will be to social and environmental causes. And we're working with Princess Trust, with Mind. We went out to our staff and said, what charities do you feel an affinity to? So that you're not only just selling product for a profit, you're actually selling profit to do some good in the world.
To do some good.
And we do environmental projects as well. We were very inspired by Sir David Attenborough, who sponsors through the RSPB, and we're now sponsoring a restoration project in Scotland to restore the peatlands, which sequesters carbon. It will make that whole area and region much, much better for the planet. So I think, for me, we're in an exciting, in fact, this week, we're working on the brand reimagination.
Okay.
Number 3 that I will have done. And the team are on it. It's their vision. And Noella and I will be there to just mentor them and see where they're going. But how do we make Elemis, to me, the most premium luxury brand, but it's really, doing good in the world, and it's sustainable, much more sustainable. We've got a lot of work to do there, but we've made massive leaps and strides. And what BCorp does, it gives you a framework. You have hundreds and hundreds of questions to answer. You literally go into every aspect of your community, your workers, your governance, your environmental side of things. And you have to answer millions of questions, and then you're rated. So when we first did it, we were at 46 points. Mm-hmm. And to be certified, you have to be at 80.
Okay.
And you put together an improvement plan to improve your business. And then every 3 years, you have to improve again.
Wow.
And, we were really thrilled to get that last year. So, and what I love is that we're now part of a community of BCorp beauty brands. Balance Me and Neom. We're coming together. And that collaboration is actually really unique, and I'm very fortunate. It's one of my biggest privileges is to sit on the board of CEW, which is Cosmetic Executive Women, and the British Beauty Council. I know that you spoke to Millie.
Who's fabulous,
who's
isn't she?
And head up the Sustainability Beauty Coalition as a co-chair and say, come on, industry, what are we doing to do this better? Yeah. We're an amazing industry. We do such incredible things for people, and we make them feel great and their skin look great, but we've got to do it with a bit more conscience, and we've got to do it better for the future.
Do you think there will be any improvements?
I do. I'm really seeing traction in the last year or two. That also there's going to be massive changes in legislation in the next 2 years.
Okay.
All double wall jars. You probably lots of jars have their excess size. That will be illegal. Ingredients, getting rid of all liquid plastics. That's going to really affect the makeup industry. I think they're going to be really challenged. So many liquid plastics in makeup that go into the water system that make it right through the food chain, through to the meat and the food that you're eating. they say, I think we're one credit card of plastic a month that you're consuming.
That
It's
is
unbelievable.
terrifying,
So,
isn't it?
So there's going to be,
So scary.
yeah, we are going to see big change on packaging, that it's far more circular. We shouldn't be wasting. We came out of a generation of the last 30 years where, sustainability didn't exist.
It wasn't at the forefront, was it?
It wasn't a word.
Yeah.
And, it was more, and plastics everywhere. Well, we're now finding out actually plastic isn't great for the human health.
Yeah.
And there's, I've been to the scientists and heard what they've talked about, that it potentially is affecting fertility in men and women. So I think we're seeing a real shake-up. And I think it's our legacy will be to make this brand the best it could possibly be for the future. And, looking at glass jars and making the formulas even more fantastic. So we'll see formulation changes, packaging changes in the next 3 years.
That's so exciting.
And that will be, I'm hoping that will be the pièce de la résistance. And Noella's been working on, we've just launched and refreshed the brand and the logo, the colours,
And
the imagery.
why did you want to do that?
Well, I think we're kind of gone full circle around. We want, one thing that I think is greatly missed about Elemis is that it's a British brand.
Yeah.
And we want to dial up that British distinction, in a very sophisticated, elegant way. And British travels. Yeah. You go all over the world and you say you're British. You go to APAC and Asia. I mean, it's the stamp and the seal of quality and trust and reliability. And we're the only British skincare brand that has skincare, no colour, that has conquered global. And I sometimes think,
That is
it's
crazy,
a
isn't it?
massive achievement. It's a massive achievement.
Especially
And-
when you compare it to other brands who people are only buying them because they're neon or because they're brightly coloured.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think we're really, with Oriel's knowledge coming in on the sustainability, and we stay really true to the DNA of the brand, and we dial up the performance.
Yeah.
I actually think we're going to have something very, very, very special in the skincare world. And you must remember, very new in the US market. We're only 8 years in, of which we've spent 3.5 years of it in a pandemic, really. So we're just coming out of that now. We're expanding out across in Sephora, across all of the US. We'll be in 700-800 Sephoras by the end of the year. We're very excited about that. We're very new in China. We're only 4 years in China, of which 2.5 of it has been pandemic. So we're just kind of new and getting to understand what that market wants from Elemis. And then APAC, funny enough, we've always been across Singapore and Malaysia through distribution, but now we own these spaces. So we have 23 standalone Elemis beautiful stores all across APAC now.
Wow.
With Elemis over the door, Abbey. I mean, huge. I mean, you'd be so proud. It makes the hair stand in the back of our neck, actually, when we travel and see. And actually, the first one now, we've just opened on Monmouth Street in Covent Garden. So we're coming back home.
Yeah.
And we're coming back home really having grown up. Is probably the best way. I think we
That's a
went
nice way
away.
to look at it.
Yeah, we went away as a little young, and we were trying everything and testing everything. And now we actually know who we are.
Yeah.
So to me now, I think Monmouth Street is a great stake in the ground to say, here's Elemis.
Yeah.
This is what we are and this is what we do well. So it is exciting. The next couple of years are really exciting.
Is there anything that you regret or would have done differently?
I don't regret any of it. I mean, I think going through 4 different owners, we were privately owned by a family called Linda Steiner, who is still with us today, and she was, started right at the beginning. Then we went to NASDAQ Stock Exchange America, but we've learned so much as co-founders. What's it like to be on a company listed on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange in New York? It's all about those quarterly numbers.
Yeah.
We did that for 15, 16 years.
That must be hard,
Yeah.
but especially when you're a brand who it's so personal to you. And
I suppose the big learning, Abbey, is having a channel to bring your creativity, but at the same time staying very commercial. And I think that's the bit that I've really learned is that, we have to perform. And it has to bring in the numbers, and it's got to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think going through the 4 owners, you must remember when we started, we had very little money. There was just the 3 of us. We had 1 investor. We had a lot of great ideas, and we had passion. Like, my God, there was in abundance. Anyone who met it, we sold to true personality. We'd sit down like Abbey, and we'd be talking, but we wouldn't have any money to invest. But they'd go, gosh, what about Elemis?
bought into you.
Yeah, and they bought into us. And I think and Sean, I mean, is the master at it. He is, he's our CEO, and, you can put him up anywhere and the man will perform. I'm the same, we're performers.
Yeah. Well, you've been telling me about you singing. All over New York.
Give me
you
a
need to sing
microphone.
before you go.
Give me a microphone and I'm off. And give me an audience, I always say, and I'm off. And I think we kind of had to dig into every skill set we had.
Yeah.
And especially in the NASDAQ period, that Oriele said, the investment was there, but it was marginal.
Yeah.
And we were 15, 16 years in that. And then, of course, the dawning came. We were bought over by private equity, El Catadin, and that was 3 years of speaking a different language, and we thoroughly enjoyed it, and we really learned a lot through that period. But we knew that was only private equity is always a very short space of time. It's only about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then when we met our perfect partner today and owner, which is, Group L'Occitane, which is, we couldn't have asked for like-minded people, entrepreneurial spirit, and they leave us to our own devices. So, it was the perfect ending. But do we regret? I mean, has it been easy? I know everyone wants you to kind of say, go off out and start a brand. I would say, think about it. And
that's what I was going to say. For any advice you would give any of our listeners who are thinking of starting their own brand?
I think, don't think this is going to be a 3-year wonder. You got to be in it for the long haul. You got to really understand who your consumer is. Get your blank sheet of paper out. Who is your target consumer?
Who is your consumer?
Our consumer, we're very lucky, is from about 14 up to 65 plus. Now, our target, what we say, our company demographic is 25 to 45 plus. But we know that cleansing balm goes younger than that. And we know that Ultra Smart goes older than that. But it would be 25 to 45 plus.
Okay.
And that's a real breadth
of
demographic. So I would say to a new brand coming out, be clear who you're talking to, know who your consumer is, and stay lasered on that. Yeah. And have a lot of investment and launch digital first. Okay. Don't go into store bricks and mortar. Do digital first.
And what is that, just for logistics? If
it's just about because you own your client. Yeah. You own your client digitally. If Abbey comes on to elemis.com, I talk to Abbey directly. Whereas if you buy through a department store, I'm talking to you through the department store. So you're not as close to me as a brand. Whereas I would say, go digital, really understand who your consumer is, talk to them daily, and then you really can then say, okay, this is what now I'm going to deliver in bricks and mortar. But bricks and mortar should be the last piece of the pie, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think, the digital space it's just to be aware that in order to get awareness in today's digital world costs a lot of money. How do you get that Google ad, Facebook ad, Instagram, TikTok? It isn't as easy as I think in our day. I think it's a lot tougher. And we call it EMV, and media value. Everyone's trying to get to number one. And you only get to number one when you spend a shed load of money. Yeah. And does that really breed loyalty? It might make that person go, I've seen that product, I'm going to buy it. Yeah. But actually, does it make them repurchase? So, and that you have to do through really knowing your customer, building that loyalty. And we've seen so many, I do a mentorship program with CEW where I mentor other people in the industry. And just talking to them. And there are so many ambitious young people, and you don't want to break that because it's fantastic that they want to do it. But you also don't want them to spend so much money that it cannot cope with that, the profit line. And the biggest thing we hear is when people start a brand is that they cannot get the volume. When we're ordering a product, the minimum order quantities on bottles and jars are sort of 10,000 units. Yeah. And the product has a shelf life. So if you order 10,000 products and you don't
filling 10,000 products?
You have to fill it because that's how you get your economies of scale, unless you're hand filling it.
Gosh.
So then if that product doesn't sell, it then gets thrown away because it loses its shelf life. So you have to really understand the economics of it. You need that volume to then start. And remember, you're buying that product up front, all that packaging, and you're sitting on it to wait to sell it. So it's the cash flow and the profit and the P&L that I think a lot of people have this lovely image of, having their own brand, but they don't necessarily understand the commercials. And actually the industry is pretty good at mentoring. CEW and British Beauty Council have mentoring programs. And I think it's really critical that they that they start there. That before you even start, spend a penny, understand what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, 'cause I think with social media, again, people just can create this illusion that they've got like this super brand, and it's not the
It
case.
has to be more than just a good idea, I think,
Yeah.
And I think that's, to Oriel's point, it's a lot of money. So unless you have the investment to keep the momentum, and really in the beginning, because you have to hit the ground running and you have to keep cutting through all the noise out there on that social platform all day, every day, because the minute you go quiet, you no longer exist. And that's huge. I mean, we're talking big investment. So it's not that easy.
No.
I wouldn't like to be starting now, let's put it that way.
You don't use any celebrities for campaigns or anything like that? Was that like a conscious
No, because
decision?
our consumer is our celebrity, Your listener today makes us what we are today, And, we were in CW a couple of weeks ago, and there was, there's the award ceremony. And we got 7 awards, actually. And I'm not saying it because of that. But one of the best was we got the Consumer Award.
Yeah.
And to me, at the end of the day, it's about
like the people's choice,
it's by the Mrs. Jones out there wanting to really buy that pot of poor collagen, and she'll do anything to get it, and she'll save up for it if she has to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best endorsement of all, Abbey.
One thing that's really evident from sitting in front of you today is that you absolutely live and breathe this brand. It's your baby, it's your passion. Even 30 years down the line, most people would have given up at some of the hurdles that you've had to overcome, or, you've just kept going. And I think that is the reason why your customer has stayed with you as well for this such a long 30 years is a long time to be top of your game.
Yeah, and I think we've just stayed relevant.
Yeah.
We don't switch off. I mean, I can't even do the daily shop without going down the aisle just to see what packaging there is, or, I'll be in the airport and I'll be looking at what everyone's doing in retail, in the shops, and what's going on and what's new. We never switch off. We're every single interviews and what people are saying and what are the trends. There's so much more data as well. I mean, that's what's changed. The biggest change has been the internet and data. It's just phenomenal. What products are the best performing in the world. You get that data. You know which brands are doing well. And you can now really understand the trends. What are the new trends coming through? What are the trending words on search terms? You get all of that. So even when you're naming a product, you're thinking about the name of it. If someone's searching, will that come up quickly as a first search naturally?
Yeah.
So I think, it's really been an incredible journey. We don't switch off. We probably never will. I think our family and friends all know that it's just part of our DNA. We do try and also have a life outside, don't we? And try and normalize a little bit, but we have our passions that we all have. I love going away with the girls, and we go off hiking and cycling. We're going off to Austria this year. We've been to Burma. So trying to have a bit of normal time to just be
switch off
with the girls, doing something that just having some fun. But when we're at work, which is full time, and evenings as well, and listening, watching, learning all the time.
It's not a 9 to 5, is it? When you're running your own business,
it's not. But you can't help but be super proud of what we've achieved. I think we don't celebrate enough, and we don't realize what we've achieved because we're still so in it. But I can sit back and say I'm super proud of that. What we've achieved.
The one thing I think, here we are women, and this is you included, Abbey. I was a single parent. I am a single parent still today. I have a bit disowned her at 25, but she's still around. And I used to take her home to Ireland because I travel the world. I'd take her back to West Cork, Ireland, leave her with my sister, then take a flight out to the US or wherever I was going, come back to West Cork, Bandon, County Cork, which is a little one-street town, which I adore, go back all the time, and pick up my baby and bring her back again. And, it's those sacrifices.
Those little things,
and they're sacrifices, And when I was in the US, Kate was going to University in Manchester.
Yeah.
And she's a performer, like her mother, even though I told her not to, but she still does. And I would fly back from New York on a Thursday night, arrive in Manchester Friday morning, and watch her perform at the weekend and fly back to New York. And they're the sacrifices you make and as a woman,
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying a man doesn't make those sacrifices, but it's harder. Yes, it's a wonderful story and we wouldn't have changed it. There's been big
comes with
compromises,
sacrifices.
and sacrifices along the way that you just have to do, because we always say Elemis is our number one baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think our children, if they're listening today, will think, yeah, I've always been second best, but there you go. You haven't done too badly.
And I suppose we've had a real role reversal, because my husband actually gave up his job to look after the children.
Yeah.
So that I could work full time and travel the world. And, always, even now to the girls who are having kids now, and we've got a lot of new Elemis babies in the family.
Oh.
I said, don't miss those special times. Do not miss the sports day. Do not miss the plays. You make sure you're at every single one. And I remember doing press launches up here. Noella, I've got to go. I'm going to run the mum's race. I'll be back in an hour or two.
No,
you can
definitely
never
not.
get that time back.
No.
And that's one thing, I hope my 3 boys, I'm sure they'll listen to this, and that I was there. And
Did you win the mum's race though?
didn't win the mum's race. They were very competitive.
But I would say just have a dream and just keep, hold on to the dream, because we had a dream, and we're realizing that dream. And yes, it's hard work. Yes, it's 24/7, but we wouldn't be doing anything else. Yeah. So go for it.
I think that's the perfect ending.
Perfect ending.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aww.